Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, the world's largest food company says its suppliers of animal products must watch out for the welfare of the animals they farm.
In southern gardening, muscadines. Gary Bachman gives the basics of growing them successfully.
In the Food Factor, Natasha Haynes will have some non-peanut ideas to spruce up your lunch.
In the markets, questions about whether corn demand will match fast-growing supplies, as a new report shows there are slightly more cattle on feed in the U.S. than traders anticipated.
In the feature segment, Mississippi State University scientists are teaching farmers to use underground moisture sensors to determine when to irrigate. The system is saving a lot of water while increasing yields.
What we saw in corn was that it was potential to slightly increase the yield. It wouldn't be much. We're talking about 5, 6, 7 bushels with approximately 47 to 50% less water than our producers are typically applying.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week. One of the world's largest food companies has announced that it's signed an animal welfare agreement.
Artis, the multinational food company Nestle, the maker of familiar brands like Stouffer's, Gerber Baby Food, and Lean Cuisine, Brownfield reports it has signed an animal welfare agreement with World Animal Protection. The Switzerland-based company said it will require its suppliers of animal products to follow stricter animal welfare practices. Nestle says it has more than 7,000 suppliers of such products. An independent auditor will make on-farm visits to ensure compliance. Otherwise, the company says non-compliant businesses will no longer supply Nestle.
Each year, some Mississippi 4-H members from ages 8 to 18 get a unique opportunity to see the inner workings of businesses that operate as cooperatives. Through the 4-H Cooperative Business Leadership Conference, they're taken to several cooperatives in the state where they learn how co-ops serve the community and agriculture. Farm Week's Amy Taylor reports.
4-H'ers who attended the Cooperative Business Leadership Conference realized there's more than meets the eye after seeing how these businesses function. 2 of the stops on the 2014 tour included East Mississippi Electric Power Association and Lauderdale County Farm Supply. Senior 4-H'ers Mary Kate Gaines and Tamara Rogers, both from Tate County, say they learned a lot that'll serve them in the future.
A lot of people don't think of like credit unions or power associations to be agriculture, but in order to have all these fantastic new equipment that we have in agriculture and farming, you have to have electricity. Electricity powers practically our whole country. I feel like I've got a great understanding of cooperatives, and I think that will help me in the future understand credit unions because I'm going to college. I'm going to be needing student loans and figure out how to do credit cards and stuff like that.
Well, we went to Staple Cotton in Greenwood, Mississippi, and one of the things they said was that money was made out of cotton. We did not know that. And we were kind of joking like, okay, I guess money doesn't grow on trees anymore. You may not realize it, but they give out so much. Like as far as Electric Power Association, they give electricity and service to other members might not have it. And with other kind of plans, they offer that to people that really can't afford it.
The 4-H Cooperative Business Leadership Conference is a 4-day event which includes workshops and activities held at Mississippi State University. The conference is hosted by the MSU Extension Service. I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Do you or someone you know suffer from a peanut allergy? In this week's segment of Food Factor, Natasha Haynes with the Mississippi State University Extension Service tells you how to work around this allergy, especially at lunch.
Peanut Peanut butter is known as a kid-friendly food because it is packed with fiber, protein, and vitamin E. But for someone with a peanut allergy, you may need to think about a different choice. Children will often outgrow food allergies, but in the meantime, here are some tips for children who need to pack a peanut-free lunch. Always read food labels for ingredients. Don't assume any food is free of an allergen. Keep in mind that ingredients in store-prepared foods can change weekly, so it's important to check the label every time you shop. Avoid products that are not labeled because they could contain unknown ingredients. Focus on packing a lunch with fun and healthy foods, such as fruits and veggies with dip, cheese and crackers, and other peanut-free options. Wash your hands before and after handling food, especially those containing peanuts, so other items in the kitchen don't get cross-contaminated. Check to see if food has been prepared in a facility where cross-contamination may have occurred. Packing a peanut-free lunch can be fun. Just remember, never assume any food is peanut-free. Always check the label. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
Well, muscadines are a great southern fruit for the table, juice, or jelly. In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us some of the basics for homegrown muscadines.
One of the true southern native fruits that many homeowners enjoy are muscadine grapes. Muscadines are popular with homeowners in Mississippi because of their natural adaptability, resistance to pests, and the delicious fruit. Today I'm at MSU's McNeil Research Unit in Pearl River County, where the USDA Agricultural Research Service grows a wide variety of muscadines. Muscadines grow well in the heat and high humidity of Mississippi, and in late summer will reward the homeowner with their sweet, fruity flavors. Muscadines should be planted from November through February. Space the plants 20 feet apart, which allows the main arms on each plant to grow up to 10 feet in each direction on a horizontal trellis. The basic muscadine plant has a trunk and cordons or lateral arms that are trained on trellises for support. The fruiting spurs develop on the cordons. Trellises in home plantings are of simple design. The most popular is a single horizontal wire attached at a height of 5.5 feet above the ground, attached to posts 20 feet apart. Commercial growers use a double curtain trellis. There are several varieties of muscadines to choose from. 3 muscadines that are commonly grown in Mississippi are Carlos, which has high yields of bronze-skinned, medium-sized fruit and is excellent for juice, jelly, and wine. Noble has purple fruit and is excellent for juice, wine, and jelly. And Doreen has medium-sized, bronze-skinned fruit that is excellent for juice, wine, and jelly. Muscadines are great for the homeowner and are not difficult to grow. Whether for table, juice, or even wine, muscadines are a delicious addition to your landscape. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Now, Mississippi State University's Muscadine Field Day will be held Saturday, September 13th at Carriere at the McNeil Unit. It is a great place to learn about how to grow muscadines, and we'll have that information on our Farm Week calendar at farmweek.msucares.com. In our feature segment today, higher yields, less water, and lower pumping costs. Mississippi State University scientists are helping farmers to make their irrigation more efficient and saving groundwater. Before we get to the markets, though, we want to ask you one last time to help us with the Farm Week survey. We want your opinions and perceptions about Farm Week and what we can do to make the show better.
If you go to our Facebook page or our web page, you will see a link. Now on the web page, it's in the upper right corner. Follow that link and you can rate us and tell us what kind of stories and information you want to see on Farm Week. Our website address is farmweek.msucares.com. And on Facebook, our fan page is Farm Week USA.
You can also call toll-free if you'd like to talk to someone about Farm Week. That number is 1-877-274-1600, extension 92. That's 1-877-274-1600, extension 92. You can call between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, the hours are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. Now, all the responses will be confidential, and the survey is shutting down next Tuesday, so you only have a few days to respond, and we appreciate those who have responded already. Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, you say that some are describing the corn trade as moving in a holding pattern.
Apparently holding for the September crop report numbers out in another week or so. Also in our headlines this week, the month of August ends with weaker soybean prices. The poultry sector enjoys higher market prices, while U.S. cattle placements are at their lowest level since about 1996. Soybean prices continue to feel pressure as we transition from the month of August to the month of September. Although the Mid-South has not seen much in the way of rain this week, other regions of the country have. Analyst John Roach says the trade is expecting this moisture to only boost U.S. yields. He thinks this positive opinion is only going to continue to keep a damper on soybean prices.
So far, what we've been spending all of our time doing is focusing on the size of the U.S. crop, and it's big, big, or bigger. I mean, maybe not quite that big, but even bigger, or you just take your degree of big, and that's what it is, and the markets come down, and now we get a little nervous about bringing the crop home. There's also a gap between now and the time beans become available, and I believe that when beans become available, they won't be available. Farmers are not going to rush to sell beans at this price. They will drag their feet, they'll have their heels buried in the ground, and the buyer is going to be frustrated trying to get his hands on those beans.
Meanwhile, lack of demand is a growing concern among some observers as far as the U.S. corn market these days. AgFacts.com reports the trade in general does not seem to show a desire to commit to the large and growing yield projections for 2014. Analyst Tom Fitzenmeyer, though, seems convinced the huge crop is here and that demand is nowhere on the horizon to shore up prices for farmers.
We've got the highest priced corn in the world, so export, how's that going to go up much? Ethanol's capped, so we're not going to go much above 5.1 billion bushel for that. Livestock number, obviously cattle and hog prices are high because the numbers aren't there, and while I understand that eventually that's going to turn around, it's going to be a while. So I just don't see enough demand swooping in here to gobble up a 1.8 to 2 billion bushel corn carryout.
Let's break from the markets to look at our trivia quiz, and here's the question for you this week. What class of tree does pine lumber come from? Is the answer A, conifer trees, or B, deciduous trees? I'll tell you at the end of the markets.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. Leighton Spann reports that poultry prices are moving higher, while July cattle on feed placements were the lowest in 18 years. In the feature segment today, soil moisture sensors. These can make a dramatic difference in yields and irrigation costs.
Hi, I'm Leighton Spann, host of Farm Week. You're invited to take part in a viewer survey about Farm Week. We want to know what's good and what's bad. Go to our website, farmweek.msucares.com, look in the upper right corner, and it will direct you to our online survey. There's also a telephone survey where you can tell your thoughts to an actual person. You'll find a link to it on our website as well. You can also find these links on our Farm Week USA Facebook page.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. Saturday, September 20th, will be the Fall Garden Tour at the North Mississippi Research and Extension Center of Mississippi State University. That's on Highway 145 South at Verona. In addition to the flower and vegetable gardens, the 2014 theme is container gardening. The hours are 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's no registration fee. The annual Mississippi Gourd Festival will be Saturday and Sunday, September 20th and 21st in Raleigh. The location is the Smith County Ag Complex off Highway 35 on Smith County Road 77. There will be vendors selling handcrafted gourds and dried gourds. There will also be classes available to learn various ways to craft gourds. It will be held indoors with air conditioning. Admission fee is $2. It's free for children 12 and under. Go to the Mississippi Gourd Society website for information and to sign up for classes. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
If you use Mississippi-based Sanderson Farms as a barometer, things look positive for the chicken business. In the Laurel Company's third quarter report this week, Chairman and CEO Joe Frank Sanderson Jr. said that they are operating in what he termed favorable market conditions. Sanderson says market prices for chicken products are higher than the same period 1 year ago. Also helping the bottom line, cash corn prices, a key ingredient of chicken feed, decreased by almost 29% compared to this time in 2013. A key monthly report card on the status of the cattle market was released August 22nd. Extension Ag economist Brian Williams sat down with me Thursday and discussed the historical lows that turned up in this report. Well, Brian, were the pre-report estimates kind of on target here for the cattle on feed?
For the total on feed, they weren't too far off. We ended up down about 2% at 9.84 million head on feed, and we're expecting to be down about 2.5%.
And I understand placements and marketings were kind of remarkable in the fact they were kind of historic?
They were. Our placements were down 7%, and the expectations on that were to be down even more at about 9.5%. And then marketings were down another 9%. So it's getting tighter and tighter.
And total U.S. cattle on feed, that was a little bit higher than what the pre-reports had kind of put it?
It was. We were down 2%, and we're expecting to be down about 2.5%. So we do have a few more on feed than what was expected.
So kind of in the bigger picture, the overall numbers maybe not quite meeting expectations out there.
No, the big thing, I guess, when looking at the big picture is that we're seeing more, we've got such a tight herd, we're seeing more smaller cattle go in. And that's where the increase is in their placements. Nebraska saw a 22% increase in lightweights, and Texas saw a 13% increase in lightweight placement, but the other weights were actually all down.
All right, we're at the Labor Day holiday weekend, kind of the unofficial end of summer here. Is this, retail demand for beef this weekend, is that going to move the meter any, have any real impact on the market?
Well, there's some potential there. One of the big things, the same day the cattle on feed report came out, there was a cold storage report that came out, and the cold storage is 21% lower than it was a year ago, and it's at the lowest point since 2001. So we're getting real tight supplies there too. And I think that's going to make the market a little more sensitive to increases in demand, such as for Labor Day weekend.
And as far as prices, probably will stay about where we are this market?
I think so, yeah.
Before our feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week. The correct choice is A. Pine is softwood, and softwood comes from conifer trees, which means trees with needles that stay green all year. Row crop agriculture is facing a growing problem in Mississippi. Slowly but surely, the Delta is running out of water for use in irrigation. However, an Extension Service-sponsored program is turning the tide, so to speak, on this problem. In this week's feature story, we take a look at one water conservation tool now being implemented by Delta farmers that appears to be reducing the amount of irrigation needed to grow a crop while improving producers' profits. The project allowed for what you might call a friendly competition between researcher and farmer as far as who knows when to irrigate best. These two soybean fields separated by a farm road represent two different approaches to irrigation. One field is equipped with a scientific tool to determine when it's time to water. In the other, the farmer just uses a traditional method, a visual inspection of soil and crop to decide when to irrigate. These fields at Simmons Planting Company in Arcola are one of the demonstration sites in the Delta for RISER, an acronym for Row Crop Irrigation Science and Extension Research.
We feel like water is our most valuable resource. Next to the land that we plant crops on, water is our most valuable resource, and we're interested in doing what we can to conserve and properly use that water.
For the demonstration project, Bubba Simmons allowed Extension Irrigation Specialist Jason Kreutz to install soil moisture sensors in one field, and for Kreutz to make all decisions as far as when to irrigate that field. The sensors were placed at depths of 6, 12, 24, and 36 inches in the soil.
But of our extension locations, all of them we set up with about the $500, $550 package where we got the data to the edge of the field on an LCD screen where they could get a real-time reading of the moisture status at those various depths, and also a graph of the moisture status over the last several months.
Meanwhile, in the adjoining soybean field on the farm, Bubba Simmons called all the shots as far as when to water. He would start the pump on his irrigation well to put water on the field based on a shovel inspection of the soil and the visual condition of the plants. There was no scientific accuracy involved in the decision-making process. Towards the end of the growing season, records indicate the field with the water sensors here had at least 2 fewer irrigations with no adverse effects on soybean yield. And that was typical across the Delta in the sensor-equipped fields enrolled in the Riser program.
We typically start irrigating soybeans just as soon as we see a flower come up. Our producers feel real comfortable about running an irrigation shot down then. Most of our sites, we were able to hold them up a week or two past that. So that was probably saving them irrigation event then. And here at Bubba Simmons' farm, because we had the soil moisture sensors in at this location, we can see the fields coming down. We were really able to judge if we had enough water in that profile to get us able to avoid that last irrigation shot. So in Bubba's fields that he was managing, he sent one more shot of water down, but our sensor data was telling us that we probably had enough moisture to get to or 6.5, which is the point that our soybean specialist in Mississippi wants us to ensure that we have adequate moisture to that point to not cost us any yield loss. So again, able to save an irrigation on the front and back side.
Northeast of Arcola, near Ruleville, Mississippi, David Arant is another farmer who also enrolled some fields in the Riser program.
I just kind of wanted to be able to utilize our water more efficiently. I mean, water is it's not an infinite resource.
Once again, soil moisture sensors like this were put into the soil in a field as part of the demonstration project. On this farm, they were placed at depths of 6 inches, 12 inches, and 24 inches. In addition to being connected to an LED screen at the edge of the field for monitoring, David also had a handheld meter to check moisture by walking out into the field where the sensors were buried. David says he saw how the moisture sensors could make a big difference and save him money, especially with his corn crop.
I had 3 different test plots, if you will, on some of my corn fields, ranging from kind of really lighter soil all the way to heavy clay. And you know, the moisture meters on the corn, it saved me anywhere from 1 to 2 irrigations. On one field, I only irrigated it twice, you know, versus 4 times for other fields. And you know, that's kind of, you know, the moisture meters kind of stagger your irrigation, so you increase the likelihood of catching the rain. You're saving money by not having to burn diesel or electricity to irrigate. So it's a pretty big savings overall.
Extension irrigation specialist Jason Kreutz says the moisture sensors not only improve a farmer's profitability, but they do it while maintaining or even improving crop yields, almost guaranteed.
What we saw in corn was that it was potential to slightly increase the yield. It wouldn't be much. We're talking about 5, 6, 7 bushels with, you know, approximately 47 to 50% less water than our producers are typically applying.
Producers in the Riser program are finding the sensor technology to be not only valuable, but very practical and useful on a day-to-day basis.
There's something that's almost fun to look at and see what a rainfall event does to soil moisture, to see what an irrigation event does to soil moisture, and to see what it does at different depths. It's something I check daily.
That's the other thing, you know, after say a half-inch rain, one thing that I've been amazed about is how well the soil responds to even just a half-inch rain. You know, at the surface it might be bone dry before the rain, then you get a half-inch and your surface looks pretty good, but you're kind of questioning what is it doing, you know, at the 6-inch depth, 12-inch or 24-inch depth, and that's kind of really where those meters come into play.
The positive experience of these and other producers with the moisture sensors is exactly what Jason Kreutz was hoping for, especially when compared to other available irrigation scheduling technologies.
And we chose to move out to our extension locations the soil moisture sensor because it's something that a producer can touch, can see, and they're very visual just like we are and seem to really respond to the information they glean from that. So seeing the response from our producers in our extension locations and talking with them, how they responded to these soil moisture sensors and the data they can see in real time, I felt like that was going to be the way to get them to adopt this scheduling technology as rapidly as possible.
And that's the bottom line goal of the Riser program, to make Mississippi farmers better and more efficient irrigators using moisture sensors or other tools. The end result is less over-irrigation while maintaining adequate soil moisture with no yield loss. From the Mississippi Delta, I'm Leighton Spann reporting. And if you're interested in information on using soil moisture sensors, you can watch this story again on our website, Facebook page, or YouTube page. We'll also have the contact information for Jason Kreutz on our website, and that's farmweek.msucares.com.
And Leighton, eventually, cell phone, you'll call, you won't even have to go to the edge of the field to get the info. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, most Mississippians are aware of aquaculture because of our state's catfish industry.
In the feature segment next week, we'll show you a fish farming technique that takes it one step further. It's called aquaponics. It's an intensive system that combines aquaculture and hydroponics.
We'll have highlights from the recent MSU Field Day at Verona. And the food factor, tailgating. It's found everywhere, from the NFL to football fields at high schools. You'll learn some tips to make it more enjoyable.
In southern gardening, Zahara zinnias. They're colorful and they can thrive in your hottest, toughest places.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.